Marcus Licinius Crassus, one of Rome's most powerful men, stood at a crossroads. The Euphrates River, a shimmering ribbon of blue under the scorching Mesopotamian sun, lay before him. It was the year 53 BC, and Crassus, eager for military glory to match his immense wealth, had led his legions east to conquer the Parthian Empire. This campaign was his chance to etch his name alongside the likes of Caesar and Pompey in the annals of Roman history. His ambition, however, had led him into a perilous gamble, far from the familiar battlefields of the Roman world. The decision to cross the Euphrates was not one to be taken lightly. This mighty river was more than just a geographical obstacle. It represented a symbolic and strategic dividing line. To cross it was to commit to a full-scale invasion of the Parthian heartland, a vast and unforgiving land. Crassus, however, was not deterred. He was determined to bring the Parthians to battle and return to Rome in triumph. Since time immemorial, the Euphrates had served as a natural barrier, separating the empires and kingdoms of the east from the ambitions of powers to the west. The river, flowing south from the mountains of Anatolia, cut through the arid plains of Mesopotamia, creating a fertile corridor of life in a parched land. For millennia, it had been a vital artery for trade and a cradle of civilization. For armies of the ancient world, the Euphrates posed a formidable challenge. Wide and deep in places, the river could not be easily forded, especially by an army as large and heavily equipped as Crassus's. Its banks in many areas were lined with thick vegetation, offering ideal cover for enemy ambushes. The Romans, accustomed to the more mountainous terrain of the Mediterranean, understood the strategic significance of the Euphrates. To cross it meant venturing into the unknown and facing an enemy who knew the land and its secrets intimately. Crassus's army, consisting of 7 legions and thousands of auxiliaries, prepared for the crossing with their usual efficiency. Roman legionaries, renowned for their discipline and engineering skills, set about constructing a pontoon bridge, their movements precise and practiced. Teams of engineers, under the watchful eyes of their centurions, felled trees and assembled the bridge, while others unloaded boats and prepared them for ferrying troops and supplies across the river. The Roman camp buzzed with activity. Soldiers checked their equipment, sharpening swords and polishing armor. Supplies were carefully accounted for and loaded onto mules and carts. The air was thick with tension, a mixture of anticipation and apprehension. Crassus, moving among his men, projected an image of confidence, but even he could not escape the weight of the moment. Crassus's decision to cross the Euphrates was a bold, some would say, reckless gamble. He had disregarded the advice of his more cautious officers, who urged him to wait for reinforcements and gather more intelligence on the elusive Parthian army. Crassus, however, was driven by a desire to prove himself, to silence his critics in Rome, who whispered that his wealth was his only claim to fame. The crossing itself, once the preparations were complete, was executed with the precision and discipline that characterized the Roman legions. Legion by legion, cohort by cohort, the Roman army crossed the Euphrates, their standards held high. As the sun began its descent, casting long shadows across the Mesopotamian plain, Crassus, at the head of his army, rode across the pontoon bridge and onto the eastern bank of the Euphrates. He had crossed the Rubicon of his Parthian adventure. What awaited him on the other side only time would tell.